We did like a Q&A to ask people for spooky stories, like stuff that they experienced. I haven't looked at the answers.
Do you have any spooky stories from your childhood?
Yeah, I've got one. I don't talk about it frequently because it like really creeped me out and like changed the way I look at the world a little bit. My grandmother had just passed, and I mean, it was a big deal, obviously, but I was like very close to her. We had gone to the funeral. Sorry, it's distracting. Came back to Chicago. My friend had a Ouija board, and I was like, didn't believe in any of this stuff. I was total just like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years old, like not even really thinking about these things, honestly. It was just me and him, no like adults or anyone else around or anything. And it moved around to his initials, then my initials, and then her pet nickname, or like the way she used to refer to me whenever I would go visit her. And I immediately put it down. We closed it. I've never touched a Ouija board since. And then on the way home, I swear to God, I smelled her in my parents' car, which she had obviously never been in. She lived in a completely different state. And I told my parents, I smell grandma. They're like, okay, let's get home. So since then, I roughly believe and do not mess with the spirit wheel, other than obviously otherworldly beings like Wolf. Wasn't ready for me to come in that hot, but
Kind of a person that would run away if there was some like weird sounds at night instead of going and exploring like in a horror movie. So you would run away, I guess.
It depends. I don't know. I have a lot of respect, but I also don't think I've done a lot to piss the spirits off.
What about you? Would you explore or would you run away?
I think it's very situational dependent. My wife is there. I will pretend to be brave. If I'm by myself, maybe the blankets look a little more comfortable. I was in Tulum and we went to go visit the cenotes, and I'm like, generally speaking, pretty danger averse. We were driving and we had just randomly found this tour guide. He seemed like a nice guy. He spoke English. We just like, I'll book a tour, like official or whatever, like make sure they have good reviews. But we're heading over to the cenotes, and I'm just like making conversation, being myself, and I'm like, hey, anything we should look out for? Anything interesting? And like, no joke, he literally just turns around and goes, do you believe in energy? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he went off on this crazy rant, told us like all the history about like the bodies and things. They would like sacrifice people there, like send them down to the underground cavern. And then we got to one and they had like a diving platform from like, I think it was like 20 meters, maybe 25 meters. And yeah, I just decided to jump off of it for no reason. My wife thought I was absolutely insane to jump into a sacrificial underground pool of water. That seemed like a fun like experience that like I wouldn't get a chance to do again. But if in my own house and I hear like, David, I'll be like, get the fuck out of here.
I remember when I went to Mexico and I did like I had a tour guide as well, and they told us the whole story about like how they, I think in some areas specifically, like sacrificed children for the gods. They were actually giving them something to drink, I think, so they would drown. So they were like heavily tripping. It's even worse. I remember just now, like I think they were tearing out the hearts of people and then throwing them in because that was kind of part of the ritual or something. I remember like looking at these cenotes and I was like, not sure I want to swim in there now.
Yeah, we went to some pretty quiet ones, but he was, as someone who clearly also believed in energy, he was pretty appalled that like the ones closest to like the resorts, they're basically like Vegas pool parties now. Like they sell beer next door, you can get tequila shots. He's just like, oh, it's terrible. Like, but Paul, to your point, that's the type of shit I think you do that pisses off the spirits. And as long as you're like not like trampling on their like existence, I think, you know, generally it's probably cool. What do you think?
Yeah.
Notes, yeah. I'm generally do not believe in those kind of things, but there was a friend who was like, it was really, really late, and your mind is like a little bit, you kind of feel like you are drunk or something, you know, when you're really, really sleepy. So they was telling the story about the mirrors, that they kind of store some energy, and when there is like a night, you have to cover them, because at night, they're just like the souls like looking from the mirrors to you. At that point, when they were telling this story, I felt like a little bit spooky. I remember I was covering, like, and I was saying we were somewhere in a different city. Yeah, and I was covering at night, and my friends were kind of like laughing at me because, yeah, I got scared.
I hate hearing these stories in the first place because they mess with my mind. And this is also why I don't watch horror movies in general.
Talking about the horror movies, what's your favorite horror movie ending?
Yeah, he's a big fan of Aliens. He just whispered in my ear. Unsurprisingly, that was his choice. Not like spooky, but it's still like horror. I saw Maxine recently. I think we talked about it last time. It's like kind of like on the gory horror side, not like Ghosts. Longlegs was also really creepy. If you like weird stuff, I recommend it.
I watched both of them after our conversation. I really loved Maxine. and I was really waiting for it, so it was really, really cool. And when it comes to the long legs, I think I was a little bit disappointed on the last part of the movie because it started really cool, of being really spooky and weird,
Yeah.
but then I felt like they missed something on the way.
I don't want to give spoilers here, but I will say I felt similarly until someone explained the ending a little bit more to me, and I was like, oh, they didn't miss it. I missed it. I don't know if you're in the same spot. Maybe you actually know everything and you're still disappointed, which is totally valid.
You can give it away, by the way. I'm not going to watch it.
You know? I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna mess with the ghosts.
For me, like the best ending, the horror movie ending, is like I watched Jeepers Creepers, like the first one. Did you watch it as a kid?
No, I never saw it.
So I loved the ending of it because it's more like a jump scare ending.
Okay. I'm gonna read some of the stories that were shared with us. I will start with Vienna's, Benna on Farcaster. She said that the closest thing to what I would call a ghost sighting was not when I was young, but actually 6 years ago. I was trying to get back home after a long night out. I had no battery on my phone, so I couldn't call an Uber, and the metros were closed. So I took the Paris night bus, hoping it would more or less take me to nearby where my home was. At a certain point, I got off the bus, still not sure where I was, but I sensed I wasn't too far from where I was staying, so I started walking in the general direction of where I thought I should go. At a certain point, I passed by the high, thick walls of a cemetery. There was no one else on the streets except me and the streetlights. Then an old lady turned around the corner from the entrance of the cemetery and walked past me. She was accompanied by 2 little girls, maybe around 7, 9, and 9 years old, dressed in what looked like Victorian nightgowns, their hair in braids tied by a white ribbon, and they were looking at me. At this time, I was too focused on getting home that I didn't think much about the situation, but yeah, I thought it was strange. But when I got home, I was like, why were they out so late? And why were they dressed in this, like, clothing? That's scary.
That's a ghost, is what that's 100% that was a ghost.
Classical ghost story.
As she started off, she's like, I don't know, maybe, possibly, one interesting small thing. Like, no, you definitely saw it. 100% that's a ghost. No doubt in my mind.
That's so
By
interesting.
the way, like, why all the ghosts are like at the Victorian times? Like they always dress like.
No one sees ghosts dressed in like ancient Egyptian pharaohs or like.
Ooh, someone submitted something and they said, I had a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. Like again and again, the same dream. And actually last night, for the first time that I can remember, I had a dream within a dream. That I woke up and I thought, oh, that was a weird
What's the
dream. I'm happy I woke up. And then at some point I did wake up during the night. And I was like, oh, I didn't wake up. Now I woke up.
It's got the same energy that like it makes you question reality. Like at some point, are we all just gonna wake up again? Right? It's that same sort of like feeling like, is this real? Right? So I think it's connected in some way.
I also can control dreams.
Wait, you can?
Great.
Yeah, not
You can
always.
really- That's so cool.
I can, yeah. Like I think, especially when I was younger, within the dream, I often, know that I'm dreaming, and I mostly tell myself that it's a dream. Don't worry. And when it's kind of like a weird situation that somebody gonna stab me, and I can feel like when there's like a knife approaching you back, then I know that it's a dream, and I'm like, oh, that's a dream, and I'm kind of changing the situations, and I can control where I'm going and what's going on. When I'm waking up, I can hear my thoughts, which is more like a narrative thing. Go into the room and somebody's reading, and before they notice that you're in a room, just like they start reading that this is how it sounds in my head, and then I realize I'm stopping. Like the dream stops because the consciousness came in and it just stopped. And I love it. It's kind of fun.
I've tried to practice it before. I've gotten successful lucid dreaming like just once or twice, where like I went in with a plan, controlled the entire dream, and came out. But I don't know. I just like it's too hard. It's a lot of practice.
But the friend that I was talking about before, he gets stuck in his dreams and he actually can't change them and he can't wake up.
My wife gets that sometimes too. Like
Sleep, I think it's like
sleep paralysis. Yeah,
paralysis.
exactly. Yeah, sleep paralysis. That's freaky.
One of the ones that were submitted, because Erica is always talking about like spirituality, and I asked her to like tell me. I accidentally summoned the Grim Reaper through the OUIJA board. That's what you
Ouija.
Ouija?
The same one that I did.
Ah, yeah, okay. And it shut down all the electronics in that room.
I'm
Who do
out.
you?